transformations came to him early and suddenly. He was 13 years old when he was taken to see a sensational movie at Grauman's Chinese in his native Los Angeles. King Kong, that masterpiece of stop-motion animation, instantly and permanently entered our collective consciousness and proposed his life's work to Ray Harryhausen.
They had pictures of this big gorilla on top of the Empire State Building, so I got very curious, and one day my aunt gave us these tickets, and she went along with us, and my mother, and I walked into Grauman's Chinese Theater, and when I came out, I haven't been the same since. The theatricality, the showmanship, I just came out awestruck, and I realized what you could do with animation. I mean, it changed my life.
He got busy immediately, learning the rudiments of stop-motion animation by doing. He had a natural talent for the work, as these very early examples demonstrate. At first, his studio was the family garage. Later, his father built what they called his hobby house, to accommodate Ray's expanding skills and vision.
And that was really the start of my experimentation. But I owe everything to this giant gorilla and the people who made it.
They were led by Willis O'Brien, a former newspaper cartoonist who had been working in special effects since 1914. A school friend helped Ray meet him.
I called Willis O'Brien, and he was very courteous, and he invited me over to the studio. So I loaded some of my dinosaurs that I had made into a suitcase, took them over to MGM, and he gave me some wonderful advice. He said, your Stegosaurus's legs look like sausages. You've got to learn to develop the muscles.
O'Brien inspired him to enroll in art school, where he perfected his talents for drawing and sculpture, as these renderings he did for an unmade O'Brien project vividly demonstrate. When he was in art school, he also joined a science fiction club. At its weekly meetings, he made a lifelong friend.
Lo and behold, there was a young writer struggling to get his stories published, was Ray Bradbury, and that was my first meeting with Ray Bradbury.
He was crazy about the Lost World. He was crazy about King Kong, and I was similarly crazy. And we made a pact together, and we said, we're going to grow old but never grow up. We're going to stay 18 years, 19 years old, and we're going to love dinosaurs forever.
When he heard that I was reconstructing them and trying to put a film together, of course we became quite good friends, which lasted over the years.
At the time, Ray was working on Evolution. It was an attempt to tell the entire story of life's beginnings on Earth, and for a lone teenager, a hugely ambitious undertaking.
Evolution was a 16-millimeter project, very ambitious when I look back at it. But in my naive way, I thought I could do it if I took a year or a year and a half. So I started making all of these experiments with it. And I'm very grateful I did, even though the picture was never completed, because I got discouraged when I saw Fantasia. It covered the dinosaur sequence with Stravinsky's wonderful background music, and I thought, oh, they're covering the same ground, and they did it so beautifully, I might as well abandon it. But it wasn't for naught. I used all this footage that I had experimented with earlier as a sample of what I could do.
This woolly mammoth, created for Evolution, is the earliest Ray Harryhausen model still in his possession.
I made a few tests of it, but I never actually got to shoot it as a sequence and part of the film. But I did cut up my mother's fur coat, and that was quite disturbing to some people, but I finally found out she didn't want it anymore, so I didn't get a whipping.